What's up, YouTube fans? Today we're doing a very quick update video on the Moon Studio Radiatron, or Zeta Toys version of Raiden. Now, I got a lot of questions in my video because I had actually shown the articulation and how to get this guy together across multiple videos. And so it might have been hard for you to actually see how to get it here. So I'm going to go over some of the very specific things you need to do to get this to be stable. And also I'm going to go over the articulation, the entire thing in one video so you can see it all. So number one of the first things you want to do is the legs. So getting the legs together. And I've purposely left this back part open. It is also a point of frustration, but I will show you that. These, you want to make sure when you open these up and you slide the leg panel in there, that it's slid all the way forward as far as it'll go. It is a very tight fit, especially when you first get it. But you want to make sure this is squeezed in so there's no gap here. Right? So those are really locked in. Next thing you want to do is make sure these panels are actually tabbed in. These actually provide support to the back of the foot. So you need to have both of these panels tabbed in and locked in so they make an actual back of the foot. With those loose or not tabbed in all the way, it will lean back. He also likes to lean forward, but in this case, he'll lean back. All right, coming onto here, there's something really important that a lot of reviews miss, so let me get in close. Okay, so you can see there's these two tabs right back here, and they actually fold down from Moonshine. Those two tabs don't just lay there. You have to actually push them in, and they tab into the back. That makes this top part of the torso very secure. Without doing that, it does come off. So that's something you really have to pay attention to. It is a very tight fit, and so you've got to really push on those. But those two tabs need to be in. Once you get those in, then you can close this up. And this likes to pop out, so I'll just mention that now. That is a point of weakness on this figure. This back panel especially likes to pop out, but you really need to get those tabs in to make it secure. All right, so coming to the arm joint, this is another very important one. When you're attaching this onto the peg from Moonshine, you have to squeeze these black pieces together. And you really have to get your fingers in there. And I raised this up so you could kind of see what I'm doing here. But you want to get your fingers around here and really give this a squeeze on up here and here. There should be no gap between those. If you do that, you'll get a much firmer support there on that arm. And you can see I'm moving it pretty freely and it's holding. So that's another very important joint to get right. All right, so if you have all that done right, then you will have a much more secure and sturdy version of Radiatron. So let's go over his articulation from head to toe. The head is on a ball joint. This panel that the head sits on does like to pop out, but if you just hold it down and move it, it does have a lot of movement. Side to side, up to there, down to there, and rotates all the way around. For the shoulders, it rotates all the way around on this joint here. And like you can see, I don't really have a lot of issues there, but you can lift this out to the top. Now, this is something that I have noticed. This tab likes to pop out on the top here. So I would recommend you really get that pushed in there. All right, so this shoulder goes out to here, has a butterfly joint in and out on that joint, and this is popping out. Butterfly joint in and out, the rotation at the bicep, or I guess at the mid elbow, 90-degree bend at the elbow. You have a wrist rotation, individually articulated fingers, they do splay out, and they have 1, 2, 3 joints. And the thumb is on a inner joint and then 1, 2 joints on that. So a lot of movement on those hands. They're really quite articulated. And they look nice too. Coming down to the waist, if you put your hand back here on that panel I showed you earlier, you will pop it out. But rotation at the waist. It does not have an ab crunch due to the way it transforms. For these hip skirts, I recommend you fold up the little bits at the end. That helps with giving a little bit of space for this to move around. But you're going to lift that up just so I can show you the articulation. Move the arm out of the way. Legs go out to the side on a ratchet joint. This is an extremely heavy joint, so I would not recommend leaving it like that. Goes forward up to here and it's kind of heavy, so it does move. It's just, it's not going to hold there on its own, but so pretty good joints there. Rotation at the thigh. The knee bend 90 degrees, almost basically exactly 90 degrees. And then for the ankles, you have a tilt this way. So you get basically like one tilt, or I guess two tilts, or two clicks, I mean. And then this way you get a lot more. That can also be a point of contention because if you don't have it pushed back far enough, you will lean forward. So that's something you want to pay attention to. But there is all the articulation on this guy. So final thoughts on the stability of the Moon Studio Radiatron. I did already give you final thoughts on my overall opinion of this combiner, so I'm really just going to talk about stability here. Now, I did mention there's a couple things that are annoying, like these little black tabs. I'll probably just put some Kiki in there and make them stick for good. The back panel that I mentioned, that is kind of annoying because it pops out. These hip skirts can get a little bit annoying, especially since they're not all that, solid. They just sort of move on you, but they're okay. Other than those three things, everything on this is solid. The arm joints, now that I've, locked it in, they're not going anywhere. The hip joints and the waist, especially this mid-waist, where the top part of the torso attaches, that is locked in with those tabs. You really need those tabs. The knee, solid, not going anywhere. The foot joint, solid, not going anywhere. So it's really just those parts that I mentioned that are kind of a pain. Now, he does have a lot of weight forward, so you're going to want to pose him, in a way that he's got stability on this front foot. But I don't seem to have an issue with him standing. He's pretty solid here. I can kind of rock him, and he's not going anywhere. So these feet are pretty good. Love the articulation on the feet and the hands and the fingers especially. Really good looking combiner. Now, is he the best combiner ever? As far as a all-in-one combiner, and he's pretty much all-in-one with the exception of the chest plate and the wings. Everything else was inside the robots or part of the robots. I think he is the most stable and best combiner we've gotten for all-in-one. Is he the most stable combiner ever? Maybe not. Probably I would say the Zeta Toys Superatron is a little bit more solid just because of the weight. It's not as heavy. This has got a lot of die cast in it, especially in the upper arms and then the chest. So that does make him a little bit tougher to balance, but overall, really darn close to that Zeta Toys Superatron and even the Toy World Constructor. I mean, those are probably one of the most solid combiners, and this is not that far behind. So I do recommend it. I think it is solid. It's a good combiner. If you don't like it as a combiner, the advantage here is the robot modes and the train modes are absolutely beautiful. So that's another option if you don't want to display in combined mode. But that's it for this. Just wanted to show you that stability. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.